First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Salmi for organizing this whole workshop. We are very glad from on behalf of KPMG, we are very glad to actually help UUM students to mentor y'all on the, apart from just resume building and interview skills. Moving forward, I've been actually communicating closely with Dr. Salmi to see on how we can actually help UUM students further, considering the current situation and also the distance that we are unable to travel there physically. So my name is Anil. I'm the lead talent engagement in KPMG Malaysia. And also have my colleague Mukhriz Taufik. He's the career advisor, and he's the person to go to, especially if you have any, if you're not very sure of what sort of career you would like to take on. You are looking to understand better about the culture of the firm. You can also ask us any questions pertaining to that, and feel free to ask us any questions pertaining to our experience or either our background as well. So without further ado, I'll proceed further. So this is the brief agenda. So we started off with a photo session, the resume workshop, interview, touch on interview skills as well. Before going into resume, I will also cover a bit of on cover letter. I believe for your cover letter is also essential to really understand on how to really craft a good cover letter as well. And then after that is where we'll move into Q&A session. Feel free to ask us any questions, drop your questions in the chat box, or even turn on your camera and also ask me questions. And also just to give you all a brief introductory to KPMG. So basically we have been in the industry for a very long time. KPMG is also a professional services firm where we provide the three main service lines. The three main service lines ranging from audit, tax, and also advisory. So how did we start off in Malaysia? We started off with a very humble beginning in a town about 2-3 hours away from KL in Ipoh in 1928. And in 2008, we are very proud, and we actually celebrated our 90 years anniversary in Malaysia. And how did KPMG, you must be wondering how did KPMG's name came about, and it was actually named after our founding fathers, which is Client Wealth, Pete Marvick, and also Godler. Some of the fun facts and the reason why I'm also very proud to be working for KPMG is it was established in Ipoh 1928, like I mentioned earlier. We are also one of the oldest firm in Malaysia, and also the oldest KPMG firm in the Asia Pacific region. And our Bandar Utama office is actually our Malaysia HQ, based next to One Utama. We have approximately over 60 to 100 partners now, and 2,300 staffs in Malaysia. You might be wondering if, I am looking for an internship, and I'm currently, my hometown is in Penang, and can I take on an internship in Penang? Yes, it is possible. So in KPMG, we have 8 offices in Malaysia. In total, we have 189,000 outstanding professionals worldwide and approximately 2,300 staffs in Malaysia, and it's increasing on a yearly basis. So brief introductory of our leaders in KPMG Malaysia. Dr. Johan Idris is our managing partner. Siu Ching Kiang is also our COO and also Chief Information Officer. So he heads all the digital projects in KPMG Malaysia. And if you were to join KPMG Malaysia, you would be meeting a lot of these leaders because each service line would have a specific leader. So if you can look into head of audit, we have head of tax and head of advisory, and also head of PPC. So when I say PPC, it refers to people, performance, and culture. So it's actually a unique name that we have given to it. It's as compared to having it a generic term called HR. And Adrian Lee is also the head of financial services as well. So I'll be covering resume, interview hacks, and also cover letter as well, yeah? So you guys must be wondering, if I would to prepare a resume, maybe 1 page or 2 pages or 3 pages resume. No, how long does it take for a recruiter to skim through a resume? To be honest, this is actually a study conducted, and we only take an average of 7.4 seconds in order for us to screen a resume. And because of the volume that we receive, especially being in the big four, the professional services industry, we do receive an average of 40 to 50 resumes on a daily basis. So hence why we only spend about 7.4 seconds, and you need to highlight certain points and certain leadership qualities as well in your CV, which I'll also share with you later. So some of the cover letter essentials. So when you prepare a cover letter, especially when you're applying for a job, you need to address it specifically for the position that you're applying to. So there are 3 areas to focus on. One is customization. All right. When I say customization, you need to fine tune according to the company's identity. I've come across students who actually prepare cover letters. They prepare a generic cover letter, but it's being shared to various different firms. But that is just not right, because what you want to tailor it is because you want to tailor it according to the job, you want to tailor it according to the company, and also your skill sets. So those are the kind of things that you want to highlight. Highlighting relevant qualification, you ensure that you match the credentials according to the job description that is provided. So every internship, I believe, would have a specific JD to it, and it will also set the expectations that is required from an intern. Before going in for an interview, before crafting your cover letter, maybe you might just want to look through the JD and see if it's really suitable based on your interests or your skill set. Lastly, proofread. Attain feedbacks from credible individuals for improvement. So these credible individuals, it can be your lecturer. Even with this current pandemic, and perhaps you are staying in your family. I believe your families, some of them are also working in corporate firms. They might also look out for specific good CVs in order for them to consider for their particular departments as well. So they are also pretty experienced in just proofreading your resume. Or you can also approach me and Mukhriz as well. So I give you an example of how do you prepare a good cover letter. So if you would have come across a position, maybe it was advertised on LinkedIn, or it was advertised on a specific platform. So you might just want to indicate in your cover letter, I'm interested in the position at so-and-so company, advertised on LinkedIn. And you also can say, if you are currently employed, maybe you're doing a part-time job, but you can also indicate that in your cover letter, indicating on what's your current position and where are you attached to. So you must always be firm in terms of the skill sets and the experience that you have. And how do you word it properly is you say that I believe the skills and experience that I've gained at this position will make me an ideal candidate for the job of the author's assistant. So there are a couple of when you craft a cover letter, you also like to highlight certain of your skill sets, or maybe the skills that you have that will basically outshine your profile. All right. So for example, like this person have actually indicated strong writing and editing skills, and this is purely because he's actually applying for an author's position. And you can also indicate on the current duties that will also prepare you in order for you to apply for this current position. So when you're applying for the author's position, so there are certain things that you need to also highlight, and there are certain things that is also expected from the employer. In this case will be meticulous writing and also editing skills. So this person has also highlighted based on the past experience, working experience, how does he relate it to the skill sets that is required for the new position. Perhaps you are also an experienced hire, and you would have also attained a couple of experience, whether it is part-time job. So you might just want to indicate that in your cover letter as well, and how has he helped you as an individual. So in the summary of your the last paragraph, you also might just want to simplify it and say, I am confident that my experience in the current firm or probably my research and writing skills would qualify me for consideration. And you can always end it with, I look forward to meeting you and discussing you in terms of my qualification in more detail. So the reason why you put such sentence is to show the employer that you have high interest in the particular job that you're looking for, and you are also looking for a response from them. Let's move on to a resume structure. So there are certain things that you also need to ensure that is also the basic fundamentals of a resume that you need to ensure in when you prepare a resume. So this is the basic skeleton when you actually prepare a resume, whether it is for an internship or either a fresh graduate position. So name, address, handphone number, email, and photo. You might be wondering, I have an email address that I've already been using in for a couple of years, and but you might just want to review it and see if it's a professional email that you are actually indicating. You wouldn't want to say, for example, anil@hellokitty.com, for example. So you might just want to review that and just ensure that you indicate a professional email address, and also looking into your handphone number. Please do review your handphone number. If you think that and just ensure that the handphone number that you have indicated in your resume is a number that you can always be reached at any point of the day. All right. So there are some companies that will also call you, after working hours, just because in order for them to have a casual chat with you. And photos is something that is very important. So when you look at a photo, you must also consider the fact that the photo is being evaluated in terms of your appearance, whether you are you professional enough for the job. What sort of photo do you include? Do you include a selfie, or do you include a passport size photo with a plain background, either dark blue or any pastel colors as well? You can also consider. Professional summary. So professional summary is optional, but it's always good to have a professional summary, which I'll also show you later. It's basically an objective of yourself and what are you trying to achieve. It's a short story. I would say it's a sentence, one or two sentences to actually explain on what are you trying to achieve and what sort of job are you applying for. Education background. You need to indicate whether you are currently in your degree or you are currently in your diploma. What course are you taking, and when is your completion year? So these are the important facts that you also want to highlight. Work, internship, and part-time experience. So there are some questions to me where it is raised from students where I would have I'm not active in co-curriculum, but I have taken up part-time jobs, and those part-time jobs have really helped me in terms of communication skills, encountering challenges. So those are the kind of things that you also would like to consider in your resume. Extracurricular activities and roles and responsibilities. The extracurricular activities is something that you also would like to highlight, especially if you're holding leadership positions, and also the roles and responsibility. You need to just explain in a one-line sentence or maximum of 2 lines on what sort of task is being assigned to you as an intern, or maybe even as a leader in the particular society. And lastly will be the achievements and accolades as well. So I'm going to show you a comparison between a good resume and also a poor resume. And then later on, after I complete the session, you can also ask me further questions. So the most important thing of preparing a good resume is, one, it has to be informative. Informative in the sense that it is concise, very structured, and it covers everything in a very chronological order. When I say chronological order, but at one glance at your resume, I would be able to identify whether you are actually looking for a permanent role or whether for an internship placement as well. So if you can look into this, all right, let me go by photo. So if you look into this photo, it has a plain background. It's actually a professional photo. So photo is optional. Some of them will say, oh, it's PNC. It's entirely up to you, but I would recommend for you to also include a photo. So it really depends on what sort of industry you are actually going into as well. So the photo will also reflect on what sort of industry you're going, because certain industries may require a casual photo. Certain industries, especially the professional services industry, or whether you are looking at joining the banks, it would require a professional appearance. So if you can look into the profile here, there will be your contact details or either your email address. So make sure that your email address and your contact number is something that you can be reached. It's the recruiters can just reach you out within the next, if, for example, if they call you within once or twice, they should be able to actually reach you. And some of y'all, I believe, will also have a LinkedIn account. So you might just want to indicate the LinkedIn profile ID, or perhaps the link to your profile on LinkedIn as well. So if you can look into this, I am dedicated and a competent team player looking for a challenging internship in an audit and business department. This is actually the objective that you need to indicate in your resume. So in your resume, the objective will actually give us a story or perhaps a direction on where you are actually looking to join. So by understanding this objective, I would be able to understand that you are actually you have high interest in joining the audit and business department, and you have also indicated certain skill sets that you have. You're a competent team player. So these are the kind of words that you should use, especially when you are preparing an objective. Skill sets. So skill sets can be PowerPoint, can be presentation skills, it can be event management. But if you are also familiar with any programming language, you may be from an accounting background, but you have probably learned Power BI online. So you might just want to indicate that an additional skill sets of that you have, or maybe programming languages that you are familiar, because this will actually add value to your resume. Work experience. Some of y'all also do part-time jobs, especially during the weekends or even during weekdays after your classes. So you might just want to indicate on the part-time jobs that you have actually enrolled in. The reason why you have to indicate the part-time jobs is because as an employer, for us, if you're looking in terms of KPMG, we don't just look at your academic, but rather we are looking for candidates who are able to manage both their academic and also co-curriculum participation, which includes, how do you best utilize your time apart from just your academic studies. So hobby is still optional. Some of y'all would like to would like to indicate that. Some of y'all wouldn't like to indicate that as well. So in terms of education, right? So moving on to the education area of education. So there are certain areas that you also want to highlight. So the most important thing in terms of education is for you to highlight the most recent education background. So if you are currently in a business background and you are currently perhaps Bachelor of International Business, so you need to indicate the year you have started your degree. So the reason why you indicate your year, because by actually looking at your resume, by having a good view of your resume, I should be able to understand whether you are actually looking for an internship or a permanent placement. And you can also indicate the name of your college. And at the bottom, like for example, this person is currently taking CFAP, which is before moving into ICAW, on the ICAW pathway. So this person has indicated CFAP, but on your end, you can actually indicate that Bachelor of International Business, for example. And then you must also indicate your CGPA. Some of you will probably say, oh, the firm is looking for a CGPA of minimum 3.2, but I don't have a minimum CGPA of 3.2. I have a CGPA of 3.0. I have a CGPA of 2.9. It doesn't matter. What we want to see is how you have improved over the years, and also what sort of leadership qualities that you have, and what sort of competitions perhaps you have participated in. So those are the kind of things that we also look into. So if you can look into here, 2018 till present, Prior to that, the person have also indicated where the person studied, whether it was SPM, or on your end, you can also indicate your foundation, or either your some of y'all will probably do STPM as well. So you might just want to indicate and highlight your results for your STPM, and also followed by your SPM. Positions of responsibility. So some of y'all will also put positions of responsibility. Some students also put leadership involvement. So it really depends on how you actually word it. Both of it is fine, but the concept is the same. The concept goes the same, where you have to indicate on the year. So the year you have started on the particular role, the year you have taken up the role, and when did it end? You know, when does your tenure end? You might just want to indicate what sort of role that was assigned to you, and what is your main task that is being assigned to you. What are you required to do in the particular role that you can actually explain. Moving on to all the other positions that you have in your current university as well. Apart from that, we also want to look into your achievements and experience. So achievements and experience can cover various perspectives, whether it is sports, whether it is education, whether it is a competition that is organized by a particular firm, covering, for example, business case challenge, or it's a competition on data analytics. You can actually indicate that. The concept is still the same, where you have to indicate the year, and also what is your achievement, what is the name of the competition, and also your achievement. So these are basically very important details. The reason being is because by looking at your achievement, we are able to actually look to evaluate whether you are a sports person, whether how do you best spend your time, how do you take on challenges apart from just your academics as well. So as compared to the resume on your right, so there are a couple of items that are also missing here, where for example, the name, address, HP number, and also the other information that is also important. So these are the crucial information that is required by a recruiter. You wouldn't want the recruiter to actually drop you an email and say that you did not indicate a number there. So it's not very nice. We can do it from our end, but it's just not very nice, and it will take a longer time in order for us to process your application. So if you can look into this objective, the person have also indicated that too much of self-praise, I would say, and a lot of opinions the person have also indicated. So it's very wordy. It does not basically explain what sort of objective are you looking at, what are you trying to achieve within the next few years. And if you can look into the qualification summary, the person did indicate the skills, but please ensure whatever skills that you indicate in your resume is something that you really have, because if you look into the recruiters in KPMG, when they call you up to ask you questions, they will test you in terms of what sort of challenges have you encountered. You have indicated that you're a leader of a particular society. What sort of tasks, what sort of achievement that you have achieved during your tenure there as well. So the achievements, the person did not indicate when. And if you can look into the education, when I say unnecessary information, the person has indicated that it has a second class upper honors and also an upper division. So this is not necessary, because based on your CGPA, we would be able to know whether you are a second upper or a second lower or even a first class as well. So all this relevant coursework, I've seen a lot of students, I've encountered students putting such coursework in their resume, which is not necessary, because when a recruiter calls you up after screening through your resume, they will then ask you for your transcript, which will also indicate on what sort of modules have you taken in the past years. So in your resume, you always want to highlight more evidence, but rather less opinion. I give you two examples, right? So when they ask you a question on to prove your leadership participation, and how do you best explain it? How do you best word it when you talk about leadership? So if you can look into these two examples, this person has actually indicated I have good leadership and communication skills, but has no evidence to it. But rather this, the person on the right has indicated, I've led 50 team members in coordinating an international conference, for example, with 300 participants. So that proves that whatever that you have written in your resume has substance to it. You know, it is a very valuable, it's an additional value to your resume as well. So there are also another important area that I also would like to highlight is setting accomplishments in your resume. So if you have, if you are a very active person in terms of part-time jobs and you would have taken up probably a barista, you have been a barista in Starbucks. So you might just, when you word and describe the task that is being assigned to you as a barista, you might just want to re-evaluate and see based on what you have explained, does it really is it really outstanding? You know, when a recruiter looks at at your explanation, will they be able to understand better on what you have done? So I give you two comparisons, right? So this girl has indicated, I work as a part-time barista for 3 months during the semester break, but it does not outshine herself, you know, in terms of explaining what sort of task, what was her achievement during the particular 3 months. Does she need extra supervision? Maybe she needs minimum supervision. So those are the kind of things that you also need to consider. As compared to this gentleman here has also indicated, contributed as a part-time barista, serving 50 to 60 customers on a weekly basis with minimum supervision for only a week. So this shows that this person is able to take up leadership, is able to take up the challenge, and is able to learn fast. So those are the kind of things that you also want to highlight. Apart from that, you know, in your resume, there are also certain areas that, you know, especially if you are also in societies. I believe, you know, being in a society is also not easy, especially when you hold such roles that requires you, you know, for example, to get sponsorship, or maybe it requires you to plan an event. So those are the kind of things that you want to highlight. You want to communicate those information to the recruiter. So when I say communicate those information, is, if, for example, if you would have achieved or you would have attained a particular amount for your society through sponsorship, so you might just want to indicate the percentages, or maybe the currency. You might just want to bold that and say that I have attained RM 1000 sponsorship within the first few months of the society being established. So those are the kind of things that you might just want to look into as well. Bold fonts and underlines, particular descriptions that you want to highlight. Incorporate power verbs to add further emphasis on and clarity on your accomplishment as well. So in terms of incorporating power verbs and also to add further emphasis in your on your clarity of your accomplishments as well. So these are the kind of power verbs that you might just want to indicate, which I will also explain to you further, and also add bullets to improve readability. So moving on to the power verbs. So there are certain power verbs that you might just want to indicate. Just hold on a moment. So sorry. So there are certain power verbs that you might just want to highlight, especially when you're explaining a certain description in your resume as well. So talking about certain power verbs. So for example, if you are a leader in a particular society and you have, or you are a leader in a society and you have new team members joining your society, or probably you're a president of a student council and you need to facilitate the new orientation for the university. So you might just want to indicate and also use power verbs like facilitate or administer, conduct, so execute. Those are the kind of power verbs that really outshines, and it shows that you have really put in a lot of effort in whatever that you have done. And these are the also below are the examples of the other power verbs that you can also take note of. And even if you are going to craft your CV right after this session, maybe you might just want to use this as well. So one of the examples that I also would like to show y'all is, for example, this person have also indicated, areas like 1,000 grants, supervise, project progress, improve, development strategy. So those are the kind of things that you also need to highlight, especially when you're explaining a certain achievement of your own. So if you can look into this explanation, the person also indicated that he has worked across 4 regions in Malaysia, acquired a 1,000 grant by Ministry of Happiness, especially on certain areas. And what was the 1,000 grant also used for? So some of the tips that I also would like to share with y'all is to ensure that your resume is free from grammatical errors or even spelling errors. Consistent font type. So there are certain fonts that you can actually use in terms of your resume, whether it is Arial 12 or even Times New Roman, for example. And you might also want to also look into the alignment to ensure that the alignment is consistent. And avoid copy pasting resume, especially for each job application. Like I mentioned earlier in the cover letter, you need to tune each resume to a specific distinct position. And also the information that you also share and communicate with the recruiter in terms of your cover letter or your resume. When I say tune each resume, remember the objective that I mentioned earlier. So those are the areas that you need to tune, and it's also very where you need to be very precise in what you're actually looking for. Participate within the LinkedIn community. I'm sure you guys are also very familiar with all these virtual events that is being conducted recently, especially on LinkedIn as well. So if you do not have a LinkedIn account, I would urge you to actually create a LinkedIn account, because it's a very helpful platform at this point of time. There are also some of my friends who are also speakers in the industry who are also actively sharing their inputs. Apart from that, they are also interviewing some of the leaders in the industry, whether it is from the bank, oil and gas industry at this point of time, just to share their input and also the tips on how to attain and how to ace their first interview as well. So every information within the resume preferably should be relevant and substantiated with an evidence. So when I say evidence, it's always good to indicate what sort of achievement that you have attained within the past few years. If you are working in doing a part-time job, also indicate the type of role, the type of challenges maybe you have also encountered. And when you speak to the recruiter, when you have explained a particular role that you have held in the past, you might also want to explain to them on what was your achievement, especially when you're holding the role. What sort of challenges do you encounter? Whether be it a promoter or even someone who's working for example, in a bookstore, you will definitely have some sort of challenges that you will encounter. And keep your resume to a maximum of 2 pages. So some of the interview skills, apart from preparing a resume, so there are certain areas that you also need to look into, and also you need to address it immediately after you have actually prepared your resume. So when I mention prepare, right? So prepare, when you're talking about prepare, there are certain areas that you need to highlight. So for example, if you are looking to go into the oil and gas industry, or perhaps you are applying for a particular position in a company, you might just want to understand first what sort of services and products are they offering, what sort of technology they have used over the past couple of years, what sort of achievement they have attained, what sort of areas are they focusing on. And you can, based on that, you will be able to understand and also to articulate your interests well, and you can actually compare that to what you're actually looking for. And I'm sure some of you would have your dream companies and also the companies that you would like to work for in the long term. So those are the kind of things that will prep you and also make you even more confident for the job. Be punctual. In terms of looking in terms of your punctuality, you need to arrive at the interview early. Think before speaking. When an interviewer asks you a question, you might just want to give it a couple of seconds in order for you to just determine the right answer as well. Speak clearly, cohesively, and also calmly. Be confident and also not arrogant. Listen well and express gratitude. So I've always, me and Mukhriz, whenever we go onto universities to give talks, or even when we speak to students virtually today, we have always asked the students to prep themselves well. When I say prep themselves well, when you're talking about if you perhaps UUM is going to organize a career fair within the next couple of months, it can be a virtual career fair. As of now, you should be able to already identify top 10 companies that you would like to join. And the reason why you need to identify top 10 companies is because uh, if you would have a list of top 10 companies, you will be able to prepare confidently on understanding the types of services that they offer, the products that they offer, what sort of candidates are they looking for, what sort of competitions that they have, what sort of maybe they are currently diversifying their business into a different industry. So you might also want to understand that, because when a recruiter calls you up and asks you questions over the phone, you need to be able to answer. And if you were to just go to a career fair and distribute your resumes to different to maybe 20 or 30 different companies, you will not be able to actually first, you'll not be able to really understand what does the company offer, and you will not be able to really express yourself, especially if you are interested in that particular position. So some of the common interview questions that will be asked, and I'm also sharing with you some of the tips for an interview. So they will normally ask you a brief introduction of yourself. So the brief introduction of yourself will basically somewhat relevant to your objective, and also of your experience and the skill sets that you have, and perhaps also highlighting what sort of course are you taking, and also which year are you in, and what is your objective of attending this interview as well. So some of the interviewers will also test you on situational questions. When I say situational questions, this would be reflected on whatever that you have also indicated in your resume. When I say things that you have indicated in your resume, I've also come across students who have indicated that they are presidents of a particular society, where it also requires them in order for them to even lead the particular society. They need to come up with events. They need to launch a specific program, for example. So you might just want to articulate that to your recruiter and tell them, how do you encounter this the difficult situation, or even managing a team is definitely not easy. How do you encounter such situation? How do you best manage your colleagues' expectations? How do you ensure that your colleague is not overwhelmed with work as well? Competency questions. So this will normally be related to your studies. So for example, I give you a simple example. If you are applying for a HR related positions, so they might test you on calculation of annual leave, for example, in terms of salary, focusing on payroll. So those are the kind of questions that they will also. So don't think that whatever that you study in university will not be tested. It will be tested, but in a very minimal area as well. And opinion questions. This is something that students normally ask us, but rather interviewers will also ask students on what are your thoughts on work-life balance, because because we want to understand what are your thoughts, whether you think that work-life balance is probably working 3 hours in a day and relaxing for the rest of the day, or probably doing your best within the 8 hours in a day. So I also would like to share with y'all the STAR technique to this particular interview process. Yeah. So whenever an interviewer asks you a particular question, especially during the interview, you need to actually listen to the question properly, to think of an event that you have encountered in the past, be it whether it is in your academics or even perhaps even in your co-curriculum participation as well. And when you prepare that is where, so that is basically prepare, and then you go into the situation. So you describe the event and situation that you were in previously. And perhaps you might also want to think on what sort of actions were taken, what sort of procedures were considered, especially in that particular situation. And then it comes into tasks. Explain the tasks that you had to complete in order for you to achieve that. And the actions, moving on into the action, describe the specific actions that you took in order for you to complete the task. And then after that is where you would then achieve the results. Close it with the results of your efforts. Always prove it to the interviewer that you have taken the necessary precautions and the steps in order for you to achieve a particular achievement. So moving on to the interview hacks as well. So as for interview hacks, there are a couple of areas that I also would like to highlight. So there are 3 areas basically. So there is pre-interview stage, interview stage, and also post-interview stage. So when I say pre-interview stage, first thing first, the most important thing is the mindset. All right. Whenever you apply for a job, especially during these unprecedented times, you might not be able to get the first, you might not be able to ace your first interview, but that's totally fine. But rather what's important is a positive mindset, being able to take on, to accept advices and to accept challenges. That is basically what you need, especially during this particular stage. Mindset. So mindset it also includes a positive mindset. When I talk about mindset, it also includes being agile, meaning you are able to respond, you are able to react and react quickly to the particular situation. So those are the kind of things that you also need to consider in a pre-interview stage. Always treat job hunting as a research project. I know in terms of a research project, you guys would have also, before starting your research, you would have also considered many topics as well. But in this case scenario, you would like also to also consider different companies. But rather, what I would suggest you to do is first to decide on what sort of career are you looking to go into. That's one. Second, you must be able to decide on what sort of industry are you looking to go into. If you are probably from the accounting and finance, some of y'all want to join the Big Four. Some of y'all are not really keen to join the Big Four, but rather you want to gain the experience in the banks. That is totally fine. So you need to really identify what actually you're looking for. Research about the company. So when I say research about the company, the products and services that the company offer, what sort of technology advancement that they have within the past 1 year. And maybe perhaps you might also want to look into their achievements in terms of their employment, or perhaps what sort of achievements they have attained in the industry. Also, and how can you research about the company apart from just Googling online? You might also want to perhaps communicate with your seniors who have also done their internship in the company. Understand about what sort of expectations are they looking, maybe from an intern or maybe from a fresh graduate perspective as well. So like I said, contact people who are already in the job. So it's either you approach your seniors, or even you can actually approach some of the recruiters on LinkedIn. That is why it's also very important to actually have a LinkedIn account, because you can always drop the recruiter a message saying that I am so and so, I am a student with this background. I am looking to attain a specific job, or perhaps I'm looking to join the company. Perhaps you can also explain to me what sort of environment, what sort of candidate are you guys looking for. Career fairs and company roadshows. Due to this current situation, there are also a lot of virtual career fairs. In fact, this week, we are actually participating in a virtual career fair with Talent Corp in participation in co-organized by Talent Corp and also KBS, which is the Kementerian Belia and Sukan as well. So you might just want to leverage on that opportunity to look out for an internship or even a job placement. And be up to date with the current affairs. When I say current affairs, it does not only include politics, but rather it includes on the economy.
also do a bit of research on what sort of technology companies are using today, in order, for example, talking about data analytics, talking about RPA, how does companies improve their business solutions? What does the company need to do in order for them to survive, especially in this current pandemic? Some of the industries are not doing really well, but rather what sort of initiative they have gone into. Are they delivering virtually? So those are the kind of things you need to really understand. So interview stage, this is when you are all fully prepared and you are all fully, you dress up really well and you get an invitation, and prior to that you get an invitation to the interview. But when you get an invitation to the interview, don't just look at the date and also the day and time, but also you need to look into the sort of actions that you need to take prior to attending an interview. Some of the interviews would require you to complete an assessment. It can be an e-assessment as well prior to you attending the interview. Some of the interviews will also be will also require to complete a technical assessment, or they might also require to download a specific platform. Maybe they're using WebEx for interview and you don't have WebEx in your laptop. So you might just want to ensure that you're all prepared for the particular interview. This is something that I used to do, especially looking into physical interviews. I used to go on a trip to the particular office that I'm going to go for an interview, just to ensure that I know where to best prepare myself before the interview. You don't have to prepare yourself not just the information that you need about the company, but also to prep yourself in terms of where do you park your car, where which floor do you go to. So those are the kind of things, the fundamentals that you want to work on before attending an interview. This you can do perhaps 1 or 2 days before the interview as well. Interview dress code. Now that you're working from home and you're studying from home and you're attending interviews, you need to ensure that your surroundings is quiet, especially when you are on an interview, and also ensure that you look neat in terms of for the guys, especially if you have a beard, or if your hair is long, please ensure that you look trim and proper for the interview as well. Interview dress codes, I think I wouldn't highlight on that, but rather I would like to share with you on the colors that you can actually look into, more of pastel colors for an interview. If some of y'all would have your suits ready for an interview, please go ahead. Just that you don't overdress yourself. Don't wear too much of gold, accessories as well for the interview. Personal hygienes and habits. This is something that you should know in order for you to prep yourself for an interview. Interview questions. So some of these interview questions, if you go on LinkedIn, you will see a lot of webinars. This recently my friend from Warp as well was sharing his input about interview questions. What sort of questions are being asked to candidates today? What sort of what is the candidate doing apart from just their academics and co-curriculum? Are they looking into upskilling themselves? So those are the kind of questions that you might also want to look into as well. You can also leverage on Google, based on people's past experiences. Some of them share the questions that were also asked to them, pertaining to their interview experience as well. So post-interview stage. So post-interview stage is where there are 6 things in order for you to do after the interview. One is to show that you're still interested in the job opportunity. And when you say interested, after you've attended the interview and you have not received the outcome, maybe you just want to drop them a follow-up email just to understand what sort of situation is your application currently on. Maybe perhaps you can also inform them that you are available for a second interview, just to show them that you are eager, you are very consistent, you're very persistent to get this job. And set the stage for further contact. Like I said, you can also provide your contact details in the email. Say, I can be reached at so and so. I will be available at this particular days for a second interview as well. And this send a prompt thank you note. This is something that you can also thank your recruiters either via email or even on LinkedIn as well, on the social media platforms like LinkedIn, just to thank them of taking the effort and putting you through an interview and also speaking to the profiling your application to the hiring managers as well. Keep thinking and learning about the company. Always you must always understand that you don't only do your research about the company during the prior to the interview, but rather you need to really understand on the progress of the company. Maybe they are going into a new service line, they are going to offer a new services, so you might just want to take note of that and to really understand the whole perspective as well, so that for example, if your interviewer would have called you and said that hi so and so, and after your interview we have decided that we would like to give you a second opportunity to attend the second interview, then you might also just want to indicate to the recruiter, yeah, I've been keeping up to the latest updates on your company, and you have also gone into this particular service line, which also sparks my interest as well. Accepted rejection with grace. This is something that all candidates should have. And also, if you have not received any response, whether you are rejected or is it a follow-up for a second interview, you might just want to indicate that to the recruiter as well. But if you did not get a position in the particular company, do not be negative about it, but rather you need to be positive about it and take it as a challenge, take it as a learning curve, and also perhaps ask the recruiter, maybe you can suggest to me, or maybe you can also share with me on the areas that I need to improve in order for me to attain another interview. Or perhaps you can also ask them, what is the cooling off period? Maybe I can apply back for another position in the firm as well. So apart from that, I also would like to take you through some of the functions and departments in KPMG Malaysia. Coming from the accounting and finance students, some of them have the perception that KPMG only offers the audit and tax services, but actually we have so much more to offer. Audit and tax is our bread and butter. Yes, it's one of our main service lines, but we also have other divisions as well, which I will also share with you. So moving on to the audit service line. So under the audit service line as well, we have different areas in audit. So if you are looking into the financial audit, then you can actually join the audit and assurance. But if you are perhaps keen in audit and you are keen in a specific client, so for example, like the SMEs, you would like to audit the SMEs, you can actually go into the enterprise audit as well. Or looking into information risk management. Some of you would have taken, I understand in UUM, you also have a course called the Accounting Information System. And you will probably take modules like IT audit. So you might also want to consider the information risk management department as well. They do IT audit, they audit the processes, the internal controls, and then we have data analytics. So data analytics is parked under our audit service line. This is an added service that we also offer to our audit clients. And apart from that, the data analytics, the domain is actually working closely with our advisory function as well to best reach out to clients and also to best service clients, in terms of various perspective as well. And then we have audit centralization team, where the ACT mainly focuses on the administrative side of audit. And then we have the Department of Professional Practice, talking about handling webinars, talking about conducting trainings for auditors and also. So moving on to the tax division, some of the students will probably ask us, if I come from an accounting and finance, can I choose a particular department that I can go into? Even if I want to go into tax, can I choose specifically indirect tax? Yes, it is possible. So in KPMG, when you apply for an internship position, you are able to choose on which department you like to go into. Is because from your phone interview, we want you to articulate your interest well based on the specific department that you're looking at. So in tax as well, we have different departments in tax, like global mobility services. We have the tax dispute resolution, global transfer pricing, especially in some businesses that have international customers, like clients, and they are probably looking to price their products, in terms of the tax incentives. And then we have corporate tax as well, and also indirect tax. So indirect tax, taking into consideration like GST, SST implementation. Apart from that, adding on to that, we also have our advisory division. And our advisory division as well, it covers various perspectives. Advisory is also referred to consulting. So we consult clients on different areas as well. So in advisory, we have our 3 domains, which is the management consulting, risk consulting, and also deals advisory. So under the management consulting, we have IT enablement transformation. So what they look into is looking into business process improvement. They are also consulting clients on technology transformation, how to digitalize their processes. Under ITET, they are also a subdomain in project management. So if you are the kind of person who likes to do reporting and you like to report on the project timelines, what has the other vendors achieved, so these are the areas that you also like to consider. And then we have strategy and operations. Strategy and operations, they also consult on for example, the business strategy. They also do feasibility studies. So for example, if the government is looking to establish a new MRT station, so they will do the feasibility study of the area, looking in terms of the ROI, looking in terms of the surrounding of the area. Would the particular company be able to achieve the ROI within a certain number of years? So those are the kind of things. And then we have shared services and outsourcing advisory, talking about some of the companies that has established their shared services in Malaysia. So our team could also assist them in terms of the processes and also the compliance as well. And then we have people and change. So some of y'all will be very passionate about HR in the human resource industry. And it's either you do something like myself and Mukhriz, which we do recruitment and branding, or perhaps you want to consult clients in terms of change management. You want to consult clients in terms of technology, in terms of the HR transformation. So those are the kind of areas that you also can consider. And then we have financial management and also GCMS as well. Under the risk consulting domain, we have internal audit, risk and compliance services, the accounting advisory services. So some of the firms will probably outsource their payroll, looking into, perhaps they're looking into some of the advices from the consultants as well, in order for them to improve their accounting services. And then we have financial risk management. Just recently, we actually published an article. So Adrian Lee, who is the head of the financial services, and also we have Cindy, who is a partner in the financial services, financial risk management domain. So they are currently collecting information and also data on in terms of financial risk, especially with these current unprecedented times. And then we have emerging tech risk and cybersecurity, and also deals advisory. So deals advisory is mainly focused on to corporate finance, restructuring. So so for example, if the company is not doing really well and they would like to restructure their company, perhaps they want to diversify their business. So these are the areas that we could also assist them on. And then we have business support division, the business support division, where we have my team, which is the PPC, People, Performance and Culture. So we have my team, which is called the TAB, Talent Acquisition and Branding. So what we do is we do recruitment, and we also come up with branding initiatives. And then we have TEC, which is Talent Engagement and Communication. So what Talent Engagement and Communication does is, so as and when employees join the firm, our Talent Engagement and Communication team will actually actively organize events. So it can be International Men's Day, International Women's Day. We also have coffee catch-up sessions with our partners. So those are the kind of events that the TEC organize, and this is purely because to ensure that our employees enjoy their journey in the firm, rather than not just working into consideration, but also enjoying their journey in the firm. And then we have information technology services. They have been working really hard over the past couple of months, especially when we have gone into this transition period of working virtually. So they have implemented various platforms, and hence why we are able to actually work from home today. And then we have the growth department that also focuses on doing a bit more research, and also looking into the areas of the economy, and also what are the areas that our consultants can also focus on. And then we have KPMG Business School, which is also referred to our Learning and Development Department. They actively conduct trainings for our internal employees. They also have a sub division called the Student Affairs, because in KPMG we do sponsor the professional papers like ICAW, ACCA, CPA Australia, and also MIG-PARCANS. And then we have the risk management department, just to ensure that whatever that we do in the firm, all the actions and initiatives that we have taken in the firm, it also complies to the regulations set by global as well. So referring to our clientele industry, KPMG covers various industries, not specifically focusing on one specific industry, but also covering on various industries as well. So some of our awards and accolades that I also would like to share with you is it's based on the awards that we have achieved over the years. Looking into the M100. So M100 is actually the top 100 graduate employers in Malaysia, and we are very thankful to be ranked number 7 out of top 100 Malaysian graduate employers in Malaysia. And this is also covering different industries. So it can be also taking into consideration the banking industry, oil and gas, financial services, even looking into the fast-moving consumer goods, and we are number 7. So this year we are looking to improve. Apart from that, we are also top 3 in consulting and top 3 in the accounting and finance as well. And then looking into the GCA awards as well, we are also the top 3 attractive employer in the accounting and professional services, and also in the consulting sector. CSR Malaysia, because of our initiatives, when I say initiatives, is also part of our TEC team that actually helps us to organize some of our key events, like for example the Eco Dive program, where we offer 50% diving license. The firm covers 50% diving the cost of the diving license, and also the employees are being sent to Johor, to Pulau Tioman, to collect data on coral reefs. So you don't do underwater, you don't do financial audit, but you do underwater audit, and you collect data on coral reefs. So those are the kind of initiatives that we have in the firm as well. So I'm going to play you a video. This is basically my recruitment team and also my branding team, just so that you know, and also if you see us in any events, you can also say hi to us as well. Very young team. So these are the some of the requirements in terms of our CGPA that we are looking at, especially if you are applying to us for an internship placement, and if you are also in your second year and you are also looking to best utilize your time, especially during your semester break, feel free to apply to us. We do accept interns who are not in their compulsory internship period, provided they meet the minimum requirement of 12 weeks as well. So I would like to also seek your cooperation, especially in taking out your phone and scanning this QR code to answer this survey. And this survey, I will also share with Dr. Salmi on this survey. And this survey will basically ask you questions on the sort of industry that you're looking to join. What sort of what's your expected salary, your first salary that you're looking to obtain, especially when you join the firm. So it covers two different awards, two different surveys. One is the M100, which is also done by Grad 1, and then the other one, which is GCA, which is done by Talent Bank as well. So I'll also share this with Dr. Salmi, so that you will also have additional time in order for you to take on this survey. So apart from that, I'm also on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach me out if you have any further questions, and if you would like, after giving you a brief lecture on a very comprehensive lecture on resume building, and you'd like me to review a resume, feel free to reach me out as well. My colleague, Mukhriz Taufik, is also on LinkedIn, and he will be able to assist you as well. So for those of y'all who would like to ask me a question, I see some of the questions in the chat box, and also if those of y'all who cannot access the chat box, maybe you would just like to turn on your speaker so that we could I could hear your questions as well. Okay, so let me answer the first question first. So I have a question from Noor Atira, indicating that is it possible to put your GPA instead of your CGPA in your resume? Actually, to be honest with you, if you were to ask most of the employers, they would prefer your CGPA because that is your cumulative rather than just your GPA at that particular semester. So that is actually very important for you to include your CGPA, because what we want to see is your improvement from semester 1 up to the current semester on how have you improved over the past semesters. I want to ask, in order for to choose company to work, should we choose salary over the working environment? This is a very good question, Anis. To be honest with you, if you were to ask me, don't choose salary. Salary is just basically a starting point. You know, you don't have to look into the salary, but rather in terms of the working environment and what sort of learning curve are you looking at. So you need to just evaluate those factors rather than looking in terms of your salary. You must understand during these unprecedented times, there are also companies who have cut costs and some of them who have also taken pay cuts at this time. So you wouldn't want to highlight areas like salary that will not make your interviewer very happy as well. So my suggestion to you, consider working environment, consider learning curve, consider career progression. So those are the kind of things that you want to look into. I have a question. I have been involved in organizations, events in my campus. I was positioned as a committee. My question is, can I consider this as an experience in my for my resume? You cannot consider that as a work experience, but rather you can consider that as leadership involvement in societies. So those are the kind of areas that you can highlight in your resume. Do not consider it as work experience. That is not something that you are you're something that is being assigned to you. For example, if you are taking up a job in a particular firm, there are certain expectations, there are certain evaluations as well that you are being evaluated based on the task that you deliver and based on your deliverables. So other than that, is there any other further questions? Maybe you guys would like to just unmute your speaker.
Yes, Mr. Anil. My name is Shazwani binti Muhammad Halana. I'm a semester 6 student in Human Resource Management course. So I would like to ask you, as you're already in the industry of HR itself, so what do you think are skills or any other maybe knowledge that we need to add on, especially in HR students? Like maybe in Excel is very typical thing that we heard right now, right? So is there any other things that we can do to upskill ourselves before we go into the industry itself?
So Shazwani, if you don't mind me asking, what's your background?
It's my book.
What's your background again?
It's my book gallery.
No, as in what is your current degree background?
HR.
HR.
Yes.
Very interesting. So me and Mukhriz, we did not do human resource to be specific. So both of us come. So Mukhriz comes from a marketing background. I come from an international business background. So there are a couple of areas that you need to actually look into in order for you to attain your dream job, especially with this current unprecedented times as well. So talking about areas where tech savviness, right? So this is one of the areas that you need to look into on your understanding of technology today. How does, if you're looking in terms of even a HR department, what sort of, how do they deliver reports today? Are they looking into Power BI? Are they looking into using analytics in terms of producing very beautiful bar charts, and also compiling data? I'm sure a lot of human resource departments would have data from year to year in terms of the bonuses that they pay out, for example, on the employee performance, the retention rate. So those are the kind of things that you also need to look into. Perhaps adding on to that, I think one of the skill set that is important today is, especially for students who are looking for a job, you need to be able to have a clear objective. I think prior to this, you would have an objective that you can only achieve within the next 8 months or 9 months. But today, I would highly suggest for you to have a shorter objective and see if you can achieve it. Because and there's certain things today. Being good at something is just not enough, but rather you need to have leadership qualities. That is something that all firms look into, especially if you are starting off as an executive. Over the years, you would take on a leadership role as well. So these are the kind of things that you want to look into. And also to clear your act. When I say clear your act, there are, I'm sure some of you who have been in hot topics, burning topics on social media, discussing on certain areas, especially with this current COVID-19. A lot of people have a lot of things to say, but do be cautious. Be careful of what you say on social media. Some of the employers will also look into that as well, on the things that you share, whether it's appropriate, whether it is against the compliance. Those are the kind of things that you also need to consider.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Nair.
No problem. I get another question of, may I know how much does a fresh graduate today for an accounting background? Unfortunately, we do not disclose how much does a student or maybe a graduate receive up to the offer stage. But I think this is something that you can do your research on your own. Especially in the Big Four, it's very easy to get such information online. So I would personally suggest for you to perhaps do some research online. I think Mukhriz, your mic is mute.
Yeah, no, I think I just want to add to what Mr. Anil has just said. And I was in a call earlier today, and a student asked me, and let me be the blunt one out of the two of us and say that, hey, we are going, you as a student, you guys have to be realistic and think of the future right now. What I mean by that is that we are going to enter a new phase called the new norm, right? The government is using that term as well. So I think in this new norm, fresh graduates need to understand or look at it from a bigger perspective, whereby the job market is not going to be the same how it is a year ago, 2 years ago, right? This health crisis has turned into an economic crisis, which definitely will impact future graduates' employability, the opportunities that may arise. Now, the tips and tricks I gave was the best thing I can say is think of the word cow, right? Lembu, cow, COW. And what I mean by that is C represents your capabilities. Okay. And if you move forward into the future, you want to look at yourself in terms of what are you capable of, right? Like Mr. Anil said, being good at one thing is never is not enough anymore. Getting 4 flat for your degree programs is not enough. So what is it that you want to do? I think Shazwani's question is, if you were an HR's graduate, you gotta, well, first and foremost, I think take this opportunity to attend more of these webinars, because then you know in HR what are the verticals in HR, right? There's payroll, there's recruitment. What I do in HR is the corporate branding, employer branding aspect. You gotta research, understand what you want to do, research about it, and then you look at your skill set to match your capabilities to what you want to do. When you do that, then you can match to that job much easily. The next letter O looks at opportunities. Okay, like I said, moving forward, the job market is not going to be the same. Similarly, your expectation for a salary, etc., you have to be realistic. Whereby, you know, per se, we're not going to disclose anything. Let's just say an average salary is 5,000 ringgit. I'm not saying that's the right average salary for fresh graduates, but please know that moving forward, that benchmark or that average is definitely going to go down because salaries equals operation costs for a company, right? And that contributes a lot to your opportunity. If you are so demanding of that particular job and you want so much, but there are other students who are willing to give up or sacrifice the monetary aspect because all they want to do is get a job and learn and develop in that culture, then they might get the job ahead of you. And lastly, sorry, my line is. Can you guys hear me? Because
Yeah,
it
can.
seems like my laptop is stuck. Hold on, yeah. And lastly, W is, if you can hear me, W stands for willingness. I think you gotta be willing to try. Sorry, I've jumped the gun. I did not disclose this. This is something that I've heard on a webinar and also something that I've heard over a podcast. But yes, W stands for willingness. You gotta be willing to try something else. I mean, Chazwani, if you are in HR, but the opportunities lie somewhere else, right? Whether it's business analyst role or something along those lines, something that you know you have the capabilities to do so, you must be willing to jump, follow your gut and go for it. So, you got the very, one word that Anil used yesterday is one of yesterday's session was you can't be very choosy or picky in the next future, but if you can take care of your capabilities, your opportunity, and be aware of your opportunities and develop the willingness to be brave and try something else, I'm pretty sure you guys will be successful.
Any
But-
other questions?
Anil, have you enabled the?
Yeah, I tried. There is no option to.
Okay.
I sent you over WhatsApp.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just share my screen for the link for those that wants to.
Anyone else has any further questions? Any further questions? Feel free to unmute your speaker and ask us any questions. Anything pertaining to the resume workshop earlier? Perhaps you need more clarification and you want us to help you out? Any further questions, guys?
Mr. Anil,
Yes.
I just want to ask you whether am I allowed to give my resume to you to review? I mean, like for the later time, like not this time, I mean, for any time.
Yes, definitely can.
Okay. Then I just email to you, is it?
Yeah, you can just drop me a message on LinkedIn. I will give you my
Okay, sure.
email, then I can review it and I can give you a bit of feedback on how you can improve it further.
Okay, sure. Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
you understand the session earlier.
Yes. This time is very precise, very how to say insightful.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, thank you so much for the session.
Don't worry. Thank you very much. Perhaps I also would like to just I see a question. Okay. So I'm a biochemistry student actually. And may I know if there's any job opportunity in KPMG for other field students? So just to explain to you in general, our consulting arm, we do not have a specific background. I know there are a lot of people saying, oh, the Big Four only hires people with accounting and finance. They don't look into other backgrounds. But actually, in our consulting arm, we do hire students with a lot of engineering background. Reason being is because when we consult clients, there will be clients in a certain industry that we need the expertise of engineers as well. Hence why we are open to any sort of background. But the most important thing is, especially going into consulting, where in advisory we do not hire many interns because we are very particular. You must be able to articulate on what are you looking to learn within the advisory function. So you can choose on which domain you like to join. So for example, if you like to join the management consulting, you must understand on what does the management consulting do, how do they improve clients' business performance, what sort of solutions are they looking at. So those are the kind of things that you need to look into as well. Uh, yes, there is an opportunity for any student with any background, but rather you must have a good understanding and also have a plan ironed out on what you are actually looking to do within the next few years. Thank you very much, Woon, for the question. Any other further questions?
Hi, Mr. Anil.
Yes.
I have a few questions.
Oh, yeah, great. Yes.
Yeah. So the first question is, sorry, I need to introduce myself first, right? I'm Shu Wei, and I'm currently a semester 6 student who is taking Bachelor of Creative Industry Management. Okay, and so I have a few questions. The first question is regarding cover letter. So is it better for us to send the what do you call it, the cover letter as an attachment, or we straight away copy and paste to the email body? Which one is a more proper way to do it? And yeah, should I continue with my second question?
Carry on.
Okay, so my second question is, okay, for students that need to prepare a portfolio, a video portfolio, and yeah, something like that, is it okay to upload our video project, our portfolio on YouTube, or is it better for us to have a website or a LinkedIn account? So yeah, my question is YouTube a professional platform for us to show our portfolio to the employer? And okay, the last question is, let's say I have a link to my portfolio. Should I include it in the resume or cover letter? And is it proper to include the hyperlink? Which one is the best way to include the link in the resume?
Okay, thank you very much for your question, Shui.
Okay.
First of all, creative multimedia, right? You mentioned
Creative industry management.
Creative industry management. So currently, I'm looking for candidates with instructional design and communication background. I think somewhat similar to what you're studying, some of the modules, to be part of the KPMG Business School as well. So like I said earlier, back to the question, we hire from various backgrounds. So back to your first question, which is looking into your background, and so you mentioned that in terms of the portfolio, right?
Yeah.
And whether it is also good for you to have a separate site to, or perhaps have it on YouTube itself. So I've actually just a couple of months back, I hired a fresh graduate for a multimedia specialist role. So what we actually required from the what was required from the particular applicant was for him to have a site. I think coming from the creative media industry, it's good for you to showcase your talent, to have a website of your own, especially with those videos and the portfolios that you have handled. Maybe you are doing it part-time. It's always good for you to showcase your work, your hard work on the particular site. And in terms of YouTube, I've also come across some of the students who have also leveraged on YouTube, it's fine. It's totally fine. I mean, some of the, especially some of the work would require you to publish it on YouTube as well. It's totally fine, but just ensure that that is something that you have done and is part of your initiative in order for you to showcase your talent and to the employer. It's for me, if you were to ask me, preferably if you don't have a site, I would ask you to upload it on a Google Drive and also to share the video with the employer, especially if they are looking to watch your video and your portfolio. But my recommendation is to have a site. That's one. Second, when you indicate your hyperlink, right? So it's okay for you to have a hyperlink, but just so you know, you need to also explain on what sort of hyperlink is that. What does it contain? What sort of information does it contain? So make sure you also indicate that, and then you can also indicate for further review. You can also view this hyperlink.
Okay.
And then in terms of your cover letter, please do not draft your cover letter on your email. It's just not right. A cover letter has to be a separate document. It will be 3 to 4 paragraphs, just indicating on your skill sets, highlighting your past experiences, highlighting the jobs that you are looking at to attain, and also address it to the company. So tune it accordingly to the company. So if you're applying to just say Astro, so make sure you tune it to Astro. All right, and you are applying for a specific position, for a specific role. So you have also seen on their website that you are applying for a fresh grad, maybe a multimedia specialist in Astro in a particular department. So you might just want to indicate that. So at least that as an employer, we know that you have taken the initiative to view on the website on what sort of opportunity is available as well. Did I miss out any questions?
Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you. Any other questions? From Ong Ji Hui, hi sir, may I ask if there's any quantity limitation for the intake of internship every year? No, we do have an intake on a monthly basis. We don't have a limitation to it. So in general, KPMG hires close to about 280 to 300 interns in a year. So how do we hire interns how do we set our hiring is on a quarterly basis. So every quarter we actively hire. So there are certain quarters where the numbers will be relatively much higher as well. Any other questions that you would like to for me to address? No problem. So just to share my experiences as well, just to let you all know that I not very, if you are referring in terms of age, me and Mukhriz, we are still very young. So if we have been in the industry for a couple of years now. Mukhriz, he's been into quite a number of industries as well. So this year I'm actually 27 years old. I did not graduate long ago. I only graduated in 2016. So what I did was I pursued my Bachelor of International Business in IUMW, which is the International University Malaya Wales. I did a Bachelor of International Business and graduated in 2016. After that, I joined Schlumberger, which is the oil and gas. And then after that, I did a voluntary internship with them for 7.5 months, just for me to gain some experience to upskill myself. After that, I was then offered a position in Ernst & Young, EY. So I was with EY for about 1 year, 10 months, and then I joined KPMG. So I think what I want to say is, as a student, you need to enjoy your journey being a student, whether it is your classes or even the sort of leaderships and the positions that you take up in university. So I was the founder of the Business Student Association in IUMW. I also attended quite a number of business case challenge, just so that I wanted to expand my network and to really understand on the business operation side of things. I got and managed to get some sort of achievements, especially in some competitions. And I did a couple of part-time jobs, did Grab, sell properties. I think you need to really enjoy the journey of being a student. So do as much as possible, take on more skill sets, try to improve and improve your communication skills, confidence level. That's most important, especially when you're attending an interview. Those are the kind of things that I also would like to highlight. Any other questions that you guys have? Mukhriz, are you still on the line?
Yep. Yes, I am.
Maybe you just want to share your experiences a bit.
Yeah, well, very briefly, I've had a very interesting career thus far as well. I'm only 26 years old, graduated in 2018. I did bachelor's in bachelor's in science honors marketing in Sunway University. Well, it's been a very interesting journey for me because for me personally, I did not grow up in Malaysia, so I've only come back when I first started my diploma in Sunway University. But in saying that, I've gained a lot of experience while I was abroad, but I did not really take care of my academics, right? My IGCSE or the SPM equivalent was terrible. I was a terrible student. I focused a lot more on my soft skills, right? Which, I mean, back then, I did not know anything about it. I did not know it was called soft skills, but I did a lot of sports. I did a lot of arts, particularly like drama, more into design technology, so that I built the other skills. But of course, when I came back to Malaysia and I looked at my opportunities, I was like, okay, what can I do that can first of all meet the requirements that I with my my IGCSE scores? What can I go into? There were many different options. Just to give a short context, my father is an engineer, so of course, and my mom is the typical Malay mother. So she wanted me to do the typical 5 most lucrative and honorable job a man could do, right? Which is engineering, lawyer, architect, pilot, and I can't remember what was the other one. But I decided to be a rebel because I started being a rebel back in high school already. So of course I looked at Sunway because of the proposition it had, and then I looked at marketing as a sub topic or sub niche to a larger or broader scope of business management or anything related to business. So I did that, I completed it, and I started my career with Firefly, actually the airline company. I was I was in a marketing communication management training program for a short while, and I was so grateful because I did what I studied. Not many people are fortunate enough at that particular time to do, to get a job what they studied. So I did that, but then I was at a crossroad between, I knew I needed to move somewhere where I can learn because in all fairness, I love the company, no disrespect to Firefly, but at the end of the day, it had a very GLC culture. Some of all of you may not know that yet, but once you embark in your career journey, you will understand when people say there's a GLC culture, there's a startup culture, and there's an MNC culture, right? And I just felt that I was not suited for that GLC culture, and I wanted something more fast-paced because it was very, very boring and mundane. And then I went to an engineering and construction company where I was the business development executive. Of course, this was the glamorous job. I got to travel the world in first class travel, 5-star hotels, trying to win construction jobs. And I did that for almost a year. So I did it for a year and a half. until KPMG came calling. And, you know, obviously, at that point in time, I've already known what the job market's like. I knew that KPMG was one of the big four. It was definitely the top 10 companies in Malaysia. So I had to decide whether I want to still be in a glamorous job or I want to try something that is not marketing, that is in HR. But fortunately enough, they hired Anil at that time to cover the recruitment aspect, and there was still branding aspect left. So I thought, okay, hey, branding is something related to marketing, and I think I can do reasonably well. And here I am. Now, in light of what Anil said and what you heard from me, I definitely think I'm a sole believer that at this point in time where the job market's a bit rough and you guys are going through the new norm yourself, you know, going through classes online and so forth. So and all that. Just to share, this morning, my little brother who's studying in UTP, he asked me, hey, I'm scared. I'm going to graduate. I mean, I'm going to go into degree soon. I'm just finishing my foundation year. What can I do extra? And I'm like, what do you mean what you want to do extra, right? You are at your, so we finished, so when you study abroad, you finish school at 16. So my brother is 16 years old and he's completing his foundation year very soon. And I'm like, what do you want to do? What do you mean you want to do extra? You're 16 years old, right? And and my advice to him was, you know, I think it's good for you guys as well. I think for students, you guys need some TLC, tender loving care as well. And focus on the theoretical, the technical part when you do have the time and you feel inspired to do so. But I think it's also a good time for you to just brush up on your soft skills. So he asked me, his question was, you know, for the next semester, they have online classes for co-curriculum, and there was a lot of option, and he was particularly interested in, you know, two opposite polars, right? It was either sport science because he's doing an engineering course. So he wanted to explore sport sciences, or he wanted to explore theater and you know, all these creative arts. And I told him, you know what, you are going to study engineering anyways, which has a lot of technical jobs or studies that is required. Go and take up theater and creative art. Listen, because once this is all over, people are so used to the virtual world and having all these webinars and doing presentation online. There is some point in time where you're going to go and meet people again. and the soft skill is what's going to, you know, going to take you far. And I think with theater and all that, it's going to teach you to be comfortable in public, to do presentation well, because it's going to take you out of your comfort zone with all the improvising sort of classes. But at the end of the day, it's also just teaching you the soft skills, which is the most important part. Being your studies and all that is something else. So that's a little bit about me, and then just to share, since we are still waiting for questions. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was very interesting because he was so, I think he was all like, he attended some online webinars as well, and he started panicking. And you know, yeah, I think you should take care of these things when you are graduating and all that, but think about the other aspects as well that you can improve.
Thank you, Mukhriz. Any further questions that you guys have?
Hi.
Hi.
Mr. Anya, I just want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Joseph, right? And back to the resume part, right? I just want to ask, do like employer, they see like your secondary, how to say, the curriculum thing, like your sport achievement and all, like do we have to put it?
So it really depends lah. Some of the students have actually achieved it from school, and then they went into university. They have, you know, majored in some sports, whether it is rugby or even golf or tennis.
if only it has helped you in terms of your personality, in terms of your skill set, in terms of learning to be focused, then I would highly suggest for you to put in. If at all you already have all those skill sets in your participation during your degree and your foundation, then you don't have to put it in. So it really depends on what sort of achievement that you have in your resume. So I still have what I've achieved. I have something on my resume today that I've achieved from my high school, which is my secondary school. Is because I participated in. I managed a project which actually attained the Malaysian Book of Records. So I was leading the project. It was a thumb printing project for the 100-year ceremony of my school celebration, and I managed to get under the Malaysian Book of Records, certified under the Malaysian Book of Records for just so that I have an achievement, and I still have it in my resume because it was not an easy task. There's a lot of hard work and a lot of sleepless nights.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Because I was like wondering, right? Like, let's say like, I won like a lot of like sports medals and so on. So when I was like doing my resume, I was thinking like, should I put like my sport achievement, like, oh, I got gold medal for this, or like,
Okay, what was the biggest achievement? I would highly suggest for you to put in that.
just
Compare
one.
it. Yes,
Alright.
just put in your biggest achievement.
Okay.
If you have represent the state or you represent the school in a big competition, put it that. I mean, whether you're a sportsman or a sportswoman, there's a lot of things to learn via sports. You know, like consistency, discipline. So there are a lot of things that you learn as well.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? Come on, guys, ask some questions. Any further questions? Shazwani, do you have a question?
Maybe you could tell us more about how can we leverage our LinkedIn account in order for us to be more visible to the employer out there?
Okay, sure. First and foremost, I would highly encourage for you to have a LinkedIn account, but also because by having a LinkedIn account, you would be able to so in your LinkedIn account, right, you can actually indicate a couple of things. One is what sort of positions that you have, what sort of experience do you have. Some of y'all would have part-time jobs, some of y'all would have done a diploma, you would have also taken up some part-time jobs during your diploma, and then after you move on to your degree. So if you realize LinkedIn does have an area for you to also indicate your work experience. So you can actually indicate that in your work experience, and then you will also have an area for you to indicate on your education. And in terms of your education, if you are a degree holder, please put your degree, name of your degree and all, and also the skill set. So there's one area where there is a couple of skills that you can actually highlight, especially if you have skill sets like data analytics, you have done data visualization. So those are the kind of things that you want to highlight in your skill sets. And there's also an area for accomplishments. Like I said just now, for example, if you're a sports person and you have achieved a particular achievement and over the past couple of years, so you might just want to indicate in your achievements as well. So I've in my LinkedIn, if you see, I've also indicated some of the awards I've achieved, which I think is something for me to highlight on and for me to showcase, because that's the best place for me to showcase, because it's not an easy thing to achieve. And another thing, in order for you to be outstanding, I think is also for you to be active on LinkedIn, to occasionally, look into articles, to comment, especially if someone has achieved something, try to establish yourself, build a brand for yourself. You might just want to reach out to people on LinkedIn. Like myself, I've had mentors in the industry, especially when I was studying, and that has pushed me to even deliver even more further than what I was expected to do. So those are the kind of areas that you would like to leverage on. Apart from that, LinkedIn, if you have a Facebook page, you can actually search LinkedIn Local. So LinkedIn Local is actually a platform that is open to public, right? When I say public, you can be a student, you can be someone who's working in the firm. You would be able to attend the event. So I've actually attended quite a number of events. My friend is actually the president of LinkedIn Local. And he himself has put in a lot of initiative in terms of sometimes their events can be fun, when I'm saying fun, the last I attended was a Christmas party that was done by LinkedIn Local. So it's just generally a Christmas party where they get people from the industry to come in, and you will have food. You meet people from various industries. In fact, through that event, I actually hired someone in the firm to be part of the cybersecurity team. So it really depends on what's your objective of attending such events. Second, I think another thing I would like to highlight is also looking into some of the Facebook pages. If you're looking for an internship, if you realize Facebook also has some pages that actually focuses on internship opportunities, fresh graduate opportunities. So those are the areas that you also can look into, especially considering the fact that you are looking for an internship, because there are employers who join the page and they would have posted an advertisement indicating that they are looking for a specific intern during a specific duration. So leverage on that. I think establish your online presence is something that you have to do, especially during these times. Because it's very important for you to brand yourself, not just by you having a certificate indicating that you're a degree holder, but rather for the industry people to know, okay, this girl is very active on LinkedIn. I've seen her commenting on a couple of articles or a couple of people's posts, achievements. She has actively commented, and she has said a couple of things. She has shared her views. So those are the kind of people that we want. In fact, I had one candidate who sent me their resume this morning, and this person is someone who's very active, and he actually moderated a couple of sessions in university, especially in terms of all our events as well. And just because he was a moderator, just because he stands out in terms of his personality, and he has been actively participating in numerous events, he's been taking up leadership positions, I automatically sent his CV to my recruiter, and my recruiter is going to take it forward. So those are the kind of things I think you must understand today. The most important thing for you to understand is you have to bear in mind that you are from UUM, but at the same time, when you graduate, there are also a couple of students from other universities graduating at the same time. So competition is high. You must ask yourself, what makes you outstanding? What sort of qualities and skill sets that you have? Should you look into upskilling yourself, especially to be relevant to the industry? Talking about agility, should you look into taking up a new skill that you're probably not familiar with it? Leverage on this now, especially with this current situation where you guys are also at home. Take out a skill. Whether it is something more personal, whether it is baking or whether it is cooking, at least you learn something new. I think that's most important.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nabil.
No problem. Any other questions you guys have?
Hello, could you hear me? Hello.
Hi, I can hear you.
So I'm Xiangwei here. I just saw that, you have, on your slide, what is the difference between financial management and financial risk management that under the risk consulting? The financial management is under management consulting, if I'm not mistaken. Could you explain the difference? Thank you.
Sure. Xiangwei, are you the one who always like my LinkedIn post? Are you the one?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good, good. You are a very active person on LinkedIn. This is how I remember him. See, one simple example I give you all. Focusing on the financial management, right? Financial management actually consults clients on, for example, the efficient financial operations, integrated financial transformation. So for example, if the client would like to go into a business transformation, they need to look into the financial aspect of it. So they focus on integrated financial transformation. They also look into financial performance. Is there a framework that needs to be established in order for the firms to best achieve the ROI they're looking at, the return of investment that they have put into their business? But as compared to the FRM, which is the financial risk management, I believe if you are also an active reader, or especially looking into News Straits Times and all, you would have also come across our article just recently collecting data on financial risk. Especially during these unprecedented times, there are a couple of areas that we are also focusing on. So financial risk is more of looking into the risk and capital management. We are also looking into operational risk. What sort of initiatives that business can do in order for them to best achieve and best monitor the risk that they are going to look. Perhaps in the next 6 months, or perhaps in the next 1 year, what is the best ways of to reduce the risk in the firm?
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions? Any other questions, guys? Shazoni, are you going to ask a question or something? No. Okay. So if that's the case, then thank you very much for having me on the call, and also having my my colleague Mukhriz. I really appreciate this time, and please do keep in touch. And I would like to wish you, so my final words would be, wish you all the best, stay safe, and take up new skills, upskill yourself, have a clearer objective of what you want to do within the next few years. Don't just take up an internship because you need to fulfill a requirement of your degree in order for you to graduate, but rather have a plan ironed out, and also look into areas on how you can continuously learn and improve yourself in order for you to be outstanding as compared to the other graduates. So take it as a competition, but definitely a healthy competition. Take into consideration on what are the areas that you can actually look into. KPMG offers not just our internships, but if you look into the KPMG virtual internship, so KPMG offers a virtual internship as well. It's mainly focusing on data analytics. It's called the Insight Sherpa KPMG virtual internship. So you might just want to also look into that, taking on virtual internship on data analytics, data visualization. There are also other firms offering such virtual internships. So make full use of your time, and take up new skills, start baking, start cooking, and spend quality time with your family, especially during these times. And I would like to wish all my Muslim brothers and sisters, Selamat Hari Raya to you. The rest, enjoy your day. Thank you. Have a good day.